When you think about branding, what's the first thing that comes to mind? For a lot of people, it's all about status, right? A logo that screams wealth or power. But here's the thing. The most powerful brands out there today are playing a totally different game. They're not just selling a product, they're reflecting who their customer is. And let me tell you, understanding that difference is absolutely key.
So, this really is the fundamental question you have to ask yourself. What does your brand really say about your customer? Is it just shouting, "Hey, look, I can afford this," or does it go deeper? Does it actually say something about their values, their personal style, maybe even their professional credibility? The answer to that question, well, that's what's going to define your entire strategy. Okay, so this chart, it really lays it all out, doesn't it? You've got your traditional status brands on one side, all about exclusivity, projecting this kind of uniform elite image. But on the other side, you have identity brands, and these are a whole different beast. They aren't about fitting in, they're about standing out. It's all about expressing your personal taste, your authentic values. We're going to dive into two key types of these, so let's start with the first one.
All right, so first up, the personality brand playbook. And this is exactly what it sounds like. It's about building a brand that's not just a thing you buy, it's a mirror for a whole lifestyle.
So what exactly is a personality brand? Think of it like a mirror. It's a brand that lets people express their own unique values, their preferences, their tastes. It's not shouting, "Hey, I'm in this exclusive club." No, it's about finding your tribe, a community of people who see the world the way you do, where the brand feels like it gets you.
So what does that actually look like in practice? Well, a perfect example is Harley-Davidson. I mean, it's not just a motorcycle, right? It's a whole culture built around freedom, individuality, a bit of rebellion. And because personal identity is so incredibly diverse, this market is super fragmented. You've got everything from Allbirds to Vans to Kate Spade. Each one carves out its own little niche just by mirroring a specific set of values. Now let's look at a true masterclass in how to pull this off.
So, get this. Back in the early 90s, you had these three entrepreneurs, and they don't start with a shirt or a pair of shorts. No, they start with a character. They literally invent a guy named Tommy Bahama. And for this guy, life is one long vacation. And that simple idea, that feeling, that became the North Star for an entire brand. And the way they executed this strategy was just brilliant. First off, every single decision was guided by one simple question: what would Tommy Bahama do? Every product had to fit that archetype. Then, they prioritized their image over just getting big fast. They sold through specialty stores that got the vibe, not just any old department store. Now, to fund all this slow, careful brand building, they did something really clever. They launched a private label division making generic clothes to bring in cash. And finally, they built out the whole world. They opened these amazing island-themed restaurants so people could literally step inside the Tommy Bahama lifestyle.
So, what was the result of all that? Well, it wasn't just some cute story. This was incredibly effective strategy. By selling a feeling, an escape, they built a billion-dollar brand. $1 billion! And it now covers everything from clothes to furniture. I mean, that's the incredible power of the personality playbook right there.
Okay, so let's shift gears. Now we're going to look at the second major type of identity brand. And here, the whole goal is flipped on its head. It's not about expressing how unique you are. It's actually the opposite. It's all about signaling expertise and competence in a very specific field.
This table just nails the difference. Look at this. A personality brand like Tommy Bahama, it can stretch across all sorts of categories, right? But a professional brand, say like Makita, it's laser-focused on one thing: tools. Its entire strength comes from that specific expertise. And here's the key thing. It's designed to de-emphasize your personal quirks, to project this uniform image of pure competence.
The doctor's white coat is the absolute perfect analogy for this. Think about it. It's a uniform. It strips away all individuality to send one single incredibly important message. I am a professional. You can trust me. It's the same exact principle with a contractor's tools. The brand they use can signal their level of expertise before they even open their mouth.
All right, let's make this super real with another case study. Back in the early 90s, Black & Decker, they had a huge problem. Professionals, the tradespeople, the contractors, they saw their tools as something for homeowners, for DIY projects, not tough enough for a real job site. And this wasn't just a small perception issue, it had serious business consequences.
And here's why that was such a huge risk. Imagine you're a homeowner and you use Black & Decker for stuff around the house. Then you hire a contractor, and he shows up with the exact same tools. Even if you don't realize it, you might subconsciously start to question his expertise.
The brand was actually undermining the professional image its users desperately needed to project.
So, what did Black & Decker do? Their solution was brilliant. They revived an old dormant brand they owned, DeWalt, and they gave it a complete top-to-bottom transformation. They created this iconic, tough-as-nails visual identity with that yellow and black. Their tagline, guaranteed tough, left zero room for doubt. They slapped a premium price on it and made sure it was only sold where the pros shopped. And their marketing? They went straight to the source, doing demos on real job sites and using real professionals in their ads.
And the key insight here, the real genius of it all, is that DeWalt's success wasn't just about building a better drill. It was about deeply understanding the psychology of their customer. They weren't just selling tools. They were selling credibility. They were selling an absolutely essential piece of a professional's identity.
Okay, so here's the thing. Whether you're building a personality brand or a professional brand, you're eventually going to run into the exact same fundamental challenge. And that's this constant tension between growth. This is really the core dilemma for any identity brand. I mean, think about a brand like Diesel. It was built entirely on this rebellious, youth-focused image. Now what happens if they try to start appealing to an older, more conventional crowd? They run the massive risk of completely destroying the authenticity that made them cool in the first place. It's a real tightrope walk.
And what's really fascinating is how these categories can actually blur and evolve over time. Take a look at this. The North Face, it started out as a super technical, professional brand for elite climbers. Rolex, that was a tool watch for professional divers and pilots. But over the decades, that hard-won professional credibility became the foundation for something much, much bigger. They both evolved into these massive personality brands, symbolizing adventure, success, and personal achievement to a huge audience.
And that really brings us to the ultimate strategic question you have to ask about your own brand. Is the identity you've so carefully built, is it a launch pad that's going to propel you into new areas of growth, or is it a cage, trapping you, and making it impossible to expand without losing the very soul of what made you successful in the first place? How you answer that, well, that's going to define your future.